That moment during Sunday dinner with the family, when my father slides an envelope across the table to my sister, Claire, instead of me, his words echo through the dining room. "We've given your wedding budget to your sister. She deserves a real wedding." My mother nods in agreement, while Claire beams triumphantly. I sit there, frozen. My fiancé, Felix, is right beside me. Years of being the overlooked daughter come crashing down on me. The $15,000 I'd been counting on for the last 6 months is gone. Claire's smug grin tells me this was all planned. I don't cry. I just look at Felix. Silence settles over the dinner table of my childhood. The same oak table where I did my homework while Claire got help with her college applications. My father clears his throat and leans back in his chair. The leather creaks under his weight. He has that look on his face. I know so well the one where he tries to sell a lecture as a wise life lesson. "Lena, you have to understand our position here." He begins in that condescending tone I've heard my whole life. Claire graduated from Northwestern University in Chicago with honors. She's worked incredibly hard for her career. Claire straightens up in her chair, practically glowing under my father's praise. She's wearing a cream-colored blazer that probably cost more than I earn in 2 weeks. Her hair is perfectly set in that effortless way that actually takes an hour of styling. Everything about her screams success, from her manicured nails to her designer watch. She's a marketing director at Eurotech Solutions, a Fortune 500 company. "Lena," my mother chimes in, setting her coffee cup down with unnecessary force. "Do you realize what an achievement that is?" Yes, I realize. I've heard about Claire's successes roughly 1,000 times in the 3 years she's worked there. Every family gathering turns into a list of her latest promotions, her impressive raises, her corner office with a view of the city, and, of course, Toby. My father continues, gesturing toward Claire's fiancé, who sits smugly beside her. "He's from the Richter family. We've known them for years. Solid people. He's a CPA, with his own firm. Toby Richter III, to be exact. He's a third-generation accountant, a fact he never forgets to mention. Even for Sunday dinner, he's wearing a navy blue suit. His receding hairline makes him look older than 28. He's the kind of man who probably irons his underwear and keeps spreadsheets for his personal expenses. And now, let's look at your situation," my father says, and I feel my stomach tighten. Here it comes. The comparison I dreaded but knew was inevitable. "You went to the local state college in Seattle," he notes, as if the words themselves were a disappointment. "There's nothing wrong with that, mind you, but it's not the same league. You're working as a freelance graphic designer and living in that tiny downtown apartment. That tiny apartment happens to be a charming studio. I decorated myself and absolutely love, but pointing that out now wouldn't help my case. I stay silent. I feel Felix's hand find mine under the table. His fingers interlace with mine in a gesture of support that almost makes me lose my composure. "Felix seems like a nice young man," my mother says, giving my fiancé a polite but distant look. "But we don't really know what he does for a living. He's always so vague when we ask about his job." I turn to Felix, and for the first time, it hits me that my family might have a point. In the 2 years we've been together, whenever people asked, he just said he worked in the tech industry. I never asked for details because he seemed uncomfortable talking about work, and I respected his privacy. Now, I wonder if there's more to his hesitation than just modesty. "The truth is, honey," my father continues. His voice softens, which makes his words even more painful. "We've seen you struggle financially. You've asked for help with the rent more than once this year. We don't want to throw good money after bad." That sentence hits me like a blow. Throwing good money after bad as if my whole life, my relationship, my happiness, were nothing more than a poor investment strategy. Claire leans forward, her engagement ring catching the light from the chandelier. It's a 2-carat princess cut that Toby presented to her at the Lakeside Country Club in front of half the city. The proposal even made it into the society pages of our local paper. "I've always been responsible with money," she says. Her voice carries that specific blend of superiority and fake concern she's perfected over the years. "I have a savings account, a 401k, a solid credit score. I never had to ask mom and dad for help with basic living expenses." The implication hangs in the air like smoke. I'm the irresponsible one, the daughter who can't get her finances together, who chose a creative career over stability, who fell in love with a man whose job title consists of 2 vague words. "Claire's wedding will be an investment in her future," my mother explains, reaching over to squeeze my sister's hand. "She and Toby are building something substantial, a foundation for a successful marriage." "What about my foundation?" I ask quietly. My voice is barely more than a whisper. My father sighs heavily. The sound is filled with decades of disappointment. "Honey, Your foundation is shaky at best. You're barely making ends meet. We want to help you succeed, but enabling financial irresponsibility doesn't help anyone. I think of all the times they've helped Claire over the years. The brand new Honda Civic for her 16th birthday, while I got Dad's 10-year-old pickup truck. Paying her tuition in full, while I took out student loans for state college. The $7,500 down payment for her downtown condo, while I've been renting ever since. Claire's venue alone cost $12,000. My mother continues. We want her day to be perfect. She's worked so hard for everything she has. Felix remains silent beside me. His presence is steady and calm despite the verbal assault happening around us. He's wearing jeans and a simple gray sweater. His dark hair is slightly tousled from the wind outside. Nothing about his appearance suggests wealth or status, and I realize that my family has made assumptions based on his casual demeanor. Besides, Claire adds with barely hidden glee, I've already put down deposits on everything. The Lakeside Country Club in Seattle, the photographer, the caterer, it was all arranged on the condition that the funds would be available. The country club where she works out, where Toby plays golf every Saturday, where they'll host a reception that will undoubtedly appear in the same society pages that announce their engagement. A wedding designed to impress their social circle, rather than celebrate their love. We're not trying to hurt your feelings, my father says, though his words do exactly the opposite. We're trying to be practical, realistic about what makes sense for our family's financial future. Financial future. Not my happiness, not my love, not my dreams. Just dollars and cents, and the appearance of success that Claire has always delivered, and that I apparently never will. I look around the dining room where I've eaten thousands of meals, where I celebrated every birthday until I moved out. Where 6 months ago, I announced my engagement to lukewarm congratulations. The walls are covered with family photos, and I notice for the first time how many of them feature Claire front and center, while I'm hovering in the background. Felix gently squeezes my hand, and I realize he's taken in every word, every insult, every casual dismissal of our relationship, and my value as a daughter. His expression stays neutral, but I can feel something brewing under the surface. So, this is it? I finally ask. After all these years being your daughter, does my happiness mean so little to you? Don't be so dramatic, my mother says with an annoyed sigh. This isn't about love or happiness. It's about being sensible with our money. Sensible. Another word that feels like a slap in the face. Nothing about me was ever sensible enough for them, not my career choice, not my living situation, not my fiancé, not my dreams. The envelope with my wedding budget sits like a trophy in front of Claire, and I can see her fingers drumming on the table in barely concealed excitement. She's won again, as usual. Felix finally stands up slowly. His chair scrapes across the wooden floor with deliberate precision. The sound cuts through the tension like a blade, and suddenly everyone's attention is on him. He reaches into his back pocket and pulls out his smartphone. His movements are calm and deliberate. Should I tell you what I do for a living? He asks. But he's looking directly at me, not my family. The question hangs in the air, and I suddenly realize that I actually don't know the answer. In the 2 years of our relationship, I never asked him for details about his work. He always said he worked in the tech industry, and if I pushed, he'd change the subject or give vague answers about software development and business solutions. What do you mean? I ask. My voice is shaky. Felix turns his screen toward the table, and I see a professional website with clean lines and a modern design. At the top, in bold letters, it says Data Security Center, or DSC. Prominently placed is a photo of Felix in a navy blue business suit, looking completely different from the casually dressed man standing next to me. Founder and Chief Executive Officer? He says simply, his voice carrying a confidence I've never heard before. I built a data security company from the ground up. The words hit the dining room like a bomb. Claire's face goes completely white. Her mouth opens and closes like a fish out of water. My father's coffee cup freezes halfway to his lips, and my mother drops her fork, its clatter sounding unnaturally loud in the sudden silence. I founded DSC 5 years ago in my garage, Felix continues. His voice is calm and matter-of-fact. We provide cybersecurity solutions for major corporations, protecting their sensitive data from hackers and security breaches. He swipes through page after page on his phone information, employee profiles, company services, and news articles about his business. I see photos of Felix shaking hands with executives in conference rooms, speaking at tech conferences, and accepting awards for innovation in cybersecurity. We currently employ 237 people across 4 locations, he says, his tone remaining casual despite the magnitude of what he's revealing. Seattle, Chicago, San Francisco, and our headquarters right here in San Francisco. Toby's face shifts from smug superiority to wide-mouthed disbelief. His CPA firm suddenly seems very small compared to a tech company with multiple locations. Last month we went public, Felix continues, swiping to a Forbes article where his photo is prominently featured. The company is currently valued at $47 million. I feel like the floor has dropped out from under me. $47 million. The man I've shared a bed with for 2 years, the man who drives a 7-year-old Honda Civic and shops at discount stores, owns a company worth $47 million. Why didn't you ever tell me? I whisper. My voice is barely audible. Felix turns to me. His expression softens for the first time since this conversation began. Because I wanted to be absolutely sure that you loved me for who I am, and not for what I own. I've seen too many relationships destroyed by money and expectations. My father begins to stutter, trying to form words that won't come out. His previous comments about Felix being vague about his job now sound incredibly foolish, and I see the realization dawning on his face. But you drive a Honda Civic, Claire says weakly, as if that fact could somehow negate everything Felix just revealed. I drive a Honda Civic because it's reliable and efficient, Felix replies with a slight smile. I dress casually because I'm comfortable. I don't need expensive clothes or flashy cars to validate my success. He pulls up another screen on his phone showing a news article from the Wall Street Journal. The headline reads, Local Tech CEO named Entrepreneur of the Year. And there's Felix again. This time he's holding a crystal trophy and standing next to the mayor. You've probably seen our commercials, he says to my parents. DSC. Protecting your digital future. We sponsor the Golden State Warriors. My mother's face falls as she recognizes the company name. Their commercials run constantly during the evening news, with sleek graphics and testimonials from satisfied corporate clients. The business whose ads she's been seeing for months belongs to my fiancé. I kept a low profile because I wanted our relationship to develop naturally, Felix explains. His attention is entirely on me. Too many people change when they find out about money. They see dollar signs instead of the person. Toby clears his throat nervously, visibly uncomfortable with how this revelation has shifted the entire power dynamic of the evening. What exactly does your company do? He asks. His voice is tense. We prevent data leaks, Felix explains patiently. When hackers try to steal customer information, employee records, financial data, or trade secrets, we stop them. Our software creates multiple layers of security that adapt to new threats in real time. He shows us customer testimonials from companies I recognize instantly. Large banks, hospital systems, retail chains, and tech firms. The scale of his business influence is breathtaking. The demand for cybersecurity has exploded in recent years, Felix continues. Every company needs protection, and the threats are constantly evolving. We've grown by about 40% annually. I think about all those nights Felix spent in front of his laptop, claiming he was just doing a little work. The phone calls he took in the other room, saying it was just a quick business call. The occasional trips away that he described as boring tech conferences. Forbes featured us on their 30 under 30 list last year, he says, swiping to the article. Business journals ranked us as one of the fastest growing private companies in the country. Claire looks like she's about to throw up. Her perfect wedding, funded with my stolen money, suddenly seems incredibly modest compared to what Felix could afford without even thinking about it. I had planned to surprise Lena with my wedding plans after our engagement, Felix says. His voice becomes more personal. I've been working with a wedding planner for 3 months to create something special. My heart pounds as I realize what he's saying. He's been secretly planning our wedding with resources that make my family's $15,000 budget look like pocket change. The thing is, Felix says, his tone turning serious as he looks directly at my father, respect and love shouldn't depend on bank accounts or job titles. I sat here and listened to you dismiss your daughter's happiness based on assumptions you never bothered to verify. The silence that follows is heavy with shame and regret. My family's behavior over the last hour has been exposed for what it really is. Shallow, materialistic, and cruel. My father finally finds his voice. Felix, we had no idea. We certainly didn't mean to be disrespectful toward you. But you were disrespectful, Felix replies calmly. You were disrespectful to Lena, to our relationship, and to me. They had passed judgment without asking a single question. They placed appearances above actual character. I watch as my family's faces transform as the full extent of their mistake becomes clear to them. They didn't just hurt my feelings or damage our relationship. They potentially destroyed their connection to someone whose success and influence could have benefited the whole family. But more than that, they revealed something about themselves that can't be taken back. Their love is conditional, based on achievement and status, not on unconditional family bonds. Felix reaches for my hand. His fingers are warm and firm on mine. The question now is whether we can move forward from here. now that we all know each other's true priorities. My father immediately slumps in his chair and almost knocks over his water glass in his haste to speak. The confidence and authority he possessed just a few minutes ago has completely vanished, replaced by a desperate, frantic energy that makes him look older and smaller. Wait, he says. His hands wave frantically, as if he could somehow undo the last hour of conversation. There is a terrible misunderstanding here, a complete miscommunication. My mother begins to nod vigorously, her perfectly styled silver hair bobs with every movement. Absolutely, honey. We never meant to imply that your relationship wasn't valuable. We just wanted to be practical with our finances. I watched these sudden U-turns with a mixture of disgust and fascination. 20 minutes ago, they were lecturing me about my irresponsibility and Felix about his failure. Now they're backpedaling so fast they might break their necks. We could find a solution, my father continues. His voice takes on a pleading quality I've never heard before. Maybe we could split the money between both girls. That would be fair, right? $7,500 each. Claire's reaction is immediate and explosive. Her face turns bright red, and she slams her hand on the table so hard the dishes rattle. No way. That money was given to me. I'm not giving it back. Claire, honey, my mother says in that soothing tone she uses when trying to manage a crisis. Maybe we should discuss this as a family. There is nothing to discuss, Claire snaps at her. Her voice rises to a pitch that makes everyone flinch. I've already paid deposits on everything. The venue, the caterer, the photographer. I made commitments because I assumed this money was available. Toby shifts uncomfortably in his chair, clearly realizing that his fiancé's behavior is making the situation worse. Claire, maybe we should consider what's best for the whole family. Don't you dare take their side, Claire snaps at him. Her perfectly applied makeup begins to crumble under the strain of her emotions. You sat right here and agreed when they explained why I deserve this money more than she does. The truth of her statement hangs in the air like an accusation. Toby had indeed nodded, agreed with their reasoning, and seemed perfectly comfortable with their decision to favor Claire over me. Felix remained standing. His posture was relaxed but alert. He watches this family breakdown with the detached interest of someone observing a fascinating but unfortunate social experiment. We could take out a loan, my mother suggests desperately. Her voice breaks slightly. A home equity loan. That way we could fund both weddings. That's very generous, Felix says politely, but completely unnecessary. I can cover our wedding costs. His calm reaction only seems to intensify my family's panic. My father begins calculating out loud, muttering about interest rates and monthly payments, trying to somehow undo the damage they've done. I finally speak up. My voice cuts through their frantic planning. Do you want to know what the worst part is? Everyone turns to me, and I realize that for the first time in years, I have their full attention. Not because of an achievement or success, but because I finally have something they want. Access to Felix and his success. The worst part is that none of this is about money, I continue. My voice grows stronger with every word. This is about years and years of being treated like a second-class daughter, the spare child who was never quite good enough. I stand up, my legs surprisingly steady despite the emotional earthquake inside me. Do you remember my graduation from the state college in Seattle? Claire had a dinner for her promotion that same weekend and you missed my ceremony. Mother's face collapses. Lena, we explained that Claire's dinner was already planned and we thought you would understand. What about my 21st birthday? I ask. My voice gains momentum. You took me to a burger joint for dinner. Claire's birthday got a surprise party at the Lakeside Country Club with 50 guests. My father begins to protest, but I raise my hand to stop him. When I got my first freelance contract with Richter Financial Services, you congratulated me for 30 seconds before giving a 10-minute speech about Claire's latest client assignment. The room falls silent as my family realizes I've been keeping score all these years, cataloging every slight, every disappointment, every moment they chose Claire over me. Claire's expression shifts from anger to something bordering on guilt. Lena, I never asked for special treatment. You didn't have to ask, I reply. It was given to you freely. Always, without question. And when you needed money for the wedding, it never occurred to anyone that maybe, just maybe, both daughters deserved the same support. Felix gently places a hand on my shoulder, a silent gesture of support that gives me the strength to keep going. Do you want to know why I never told you about my financial difficulties? I ask, looking directly at my father. Because every time I needed help, it came with a lecture about Claire's superior life choices. Every single time. My mother begins to cry, delicate tears that don't ruin her makeup. We were trying to encourage you, to push you to be more like Claire, to make better decisions. Better decisions? According to whom? I ask. I love my job. I love my life. I love my apartment and my independence and my relationship with Felix. But none of that mattered to you because it didn't look like Claire's version of success. Toby clears his throat nervously. Maybe we should all take a step back. This is getting very emotional. Felix turns and looks at Toby with an expression of mild curiosity. Actually, I find this very educational. I'm learning a lot about family dynamics and value systems. The comment makes Toby blush uncomfortably, as if he's just realized he's been evaluated and found wanting. My father pulls my mother aside and they whisper frantically in the corner of the dining room. I catch fragments of conversation, phrases like damage control and fixing this somehow, and what if he tells people? Claire sits stunned in her chair, as if seeing our family clearly for the first time. The envelope with my wedding money lies before her like evidence of a crime, and she looks at it uncertainly. Do you know what's funny? I say, my voice carrying a bitter edge I've never allowed myself before. If you had just asked Felix about his work instead of assuming he was unsuccessful, you would have known all of this months ago. But you never bothered to get to know him because he didn't fit into your narrow definition of a suitable partner. Felix nods thoughtfully. I've been coming to family dinners for 8 months. 8 months of polite conversation where no one ever asked me a single meaningful question about my work, my goals, or my relationship with your daughter. The accusation is clear and devastating. My family was so focused on superficial judgments that they completely failed to get to know the man I want to marry. We can fix this, my father says, as he returns from his whispered conversation with my mother. We can make this right, Felix. I hope you'll give us that chance. Felix thinks for a long time, then turns to me. What do you want to do, Lena? This is your family, your decision. For the first time in my life, the power dynamic in this room has shifted in my favor. My family needs something from me now, and I have the power to either grant it or deny it. I want my wedding budget back, I say simply. Claire's grip on the envelope tightens. I already told you, I'm not giving it back. I've already made commitments. Then I guess we know where everyone's priorities really lie, I reply, reaching for my purse. The statement hits like a final blow, and I see the exact moment my family realizes they could lose me entirely, not just for tonight, but potentially forever. Felix reaches into his jacket and pulls out an elegant tablet, the kind of device that screams premium technology and expensive taste. His movements are deliberate and calm, like a magician about to reveal a trick that will leave everyone speechless. Lena, he says, his voice soft but carrying an undertone of excitement. I want to show you what I've been working on for the last 3 months. My heart leaps as he turns the device on. The screen lights up with sharp, vivid colors. Whatever he's about to show me, I know from his expression it's something special, something he's excited to share. He turns the tablet toward me first, and I see a breathtaking photograph of rolling hills covered with perfectly manicured grapevines. The image looks like it's from a luxury travel magazine. Endless green rows stretch toward mountains in the distance, with a stately stone estate nestled among ancient oaks. The Schonfels Winery Estate in Napa Valley, Felix says, his voice warm with pride. I've reserved the entire property for a weekend in October, just for us. My breath catches as he swipes to the next image. The manor house is even more beautiful up close. Century-old architecture, complete with hand-carved stone details and wrought iron balconies overlooking the valley. The ceremony will take place in the main courtyard, he continues, showing me photos of an intimate stone courtyard surrounded by arched walkways and adorned with climbing roses. It seats exactly 50 people, which is perfect for our guest list. I'm only vaguely aware that my family has gone completely silent behind us, but I can't take my eyes off the images Felix is showing me. Each photo is more stunning than the last. I've been working with Isabella Rodriguez, one of the most sought-after wedding planners in the region, he explains, scrolling to show email correspondence and detailed planning documents. She's coordinated everything from the accommodations and transportation to the entertainment. Claire makes a choked sound that could be a gasp or a whimper. I look over and see her staring at the tablet with an expression of pure horror, as if she's watching her own wedding dreams crumble in real time. The catering is being handled by 2-star chef Keller, Felix continues, seemingly oblivious to Claire's distress. He usually only takes private bookings 6 months in advance, but Isabella has the connections. He shows me sample menus with dishes I can't even pronounce. Things like duck confit with cherry gastrique and bourbon braised short ribs with truffle risotto. The kind of food that makes Claire's planned chicken or fish reception seem tragically ordinary. For the wine selection, Felix says, his excitement growing with every detail, we'll be offering bottles from the estate's private reserve collection. Some of these wines aren't even available to the public. My father's face has gone completely white. I realize he's doing the math in his head, trying to calculate what this level of luxury must cost. and coming up with numbers that probably exceed his annual salary. The photography package includes engagement sessions, full wedding coverage, and a custom album, Felix continues, showing me sample work from a clearly world-class photographer, plus videography with drone footage of the valley. Toby looks like he's about to be sick. His own wedding plans probably involve a local photographer and a DJ who also does school dances. For the accommodations, I've reserved the entire guest wing, Felix says, scrolling to show charming stone cottages scattered across the estate. Everyone will stay on site for the whole weekend, so it'll be more like an intimate retreat than a traditional wedding. My mother finally finds her voice. Felix, this must cost a fortune. You don't have to go to such extremes. The total budget is $120,000, Felix says matter-of-factly, as if he's talking about the price of groceries, which is about average for a wedding of this caliber. Claire makes another choked sound. That's nearly 8 times what my parents had planned for my entire wedding. The transportation includes a luxury motor coach for the guests traveling from San Francisco, Felix continues, plus helicopter transfers for the bride and groom on the wedding day. Isabella thought it would make for some dramatic photos. Helicopter transfers. I'm getting married at an estate and arriving by helicopter. The absurdity and romance of it make me want to laugh and cry at the same time. The entertainment includes a live string quartet for the ceremony and cocktail hour, he says, showing me videos of the musicians at other high-end events. Then a jazz trio for dinner and a DJ for dancing afterward. He pauses and looks at me with an expression of vulnerability I've rarely seen in him. I wanted our wedding to be something magical, something that reflects how special our relationship is to me. I realize I'm crying, but they're tears of overwhelming gratitude and love, not the hurt and betrayal I felt earlier. This man has been secretly planning the wedding of my dreams, while my family was questioning if I even deserved their modest support. The floral arrangements are being designed by the same florist who did the royal wedding in Monaco last year, Felix continues, showing me elaborate bouquets and centerpieces that look like art installations. Claire's perfectly composed facade finally crumbles. That's not fair, she whispers. Her voice breaks. I should be the one having the better wedding. I should be the daughter with the perfect life. The statement reveals so much about her mindset, about the competition that has defined our relationship our whole lives. In Claire's world, there can only be one winner, one daughter who gets the fairy tale ending. Love isn't a competition, Claire, Felix says gently. His tone is more compassionate than she deserves. Success doesn't mean having a bigger wedding than someone else. My father seems to be having some kind of breakdown, staring at the tablet screen with glassy eyes. $120,000, he keeps murmuring over and over, as if saying the number out loud will help him process its scale. The wedding cake is being designed by the same pastry chef who creates desserts for a famous restaurant, Felix adds, showing me sketches of an elaborate 5-tier creation that looks more like a sculpture than food. Toby finally speaks up. His voice is tight and laced with barely concealed panic. Claire, honey, maybe we should rethink our plans. Maybe we should postpone until we can afford something comparable. With what money? Claire snaps at him. Her composure is completely shattered. You heard them. They're not giving us anything else now. Your family already said they can't contribute more than $2,000. The revelation that Toby's family contribution is so modest adds another layer of humiliation to Claire's situation. Her perfect wedding is falling apart in real time. The honeymoon is 2 weeks in the Maldives, Felix continues, seemingly determined to share every detail of his lavish planning. A private villa, a personal chef, helicopter tours over the islands. I look around the room and see a mix of awe, regret, and panic on my family's faces. It's dawning on them that their $15,000 wedding budget wasn't just inadequate, it was insulting compared to what Felix has planned. But more than that, they're seeing the consequences of their assumptions and prejudices in real time. They judged Felix based on his appearance and casual demeanor, and they were catastrophically wrong. The man they dismissed as unsuccessful and vague was planning a wedding that would likely be featured in luxury lifestyle magazines. The daughter they considered a disappointment is going to be the bride in what sounds like a fairy tale. Felix, I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. That is the most incredible thing anyone has ever done for me. He closes the tablet and takes my hands in his. His expression is serious and loving. You deserve to be celebrated, Lena. You deserve for people to realize how amazing you are. If your family can't see that, then we'll surround ourselves with people who can. The statement is both a declaration of love and a subtle threat. He's offering me a life beyond this room, beyond the dynamics that have held me back for years. My family is starting to understand that they're not just losing a daughter, they're losing access to a world of influence and success they can't even imagine. Felix pauses. His head tilts slightly, as if a memory just surfaced. He looks directly at Claire, and there's something in his expression that makes everyone lean forward slightly. Claire, you mentioned you work at Eurotech Solutions, he says. His voice carries a new note of interest. Which department are you in again? Claire straightens up proudly, seemingly grateful for the chance to shift the focus to her professional achievements. Marketing and corporate communications. I'm the senior account director for our technology clients. Eurotech Solutions. Felix repeats slowly, pulling out his phone again. That name sounds very familiar. He scrolls through his contacts and recent emails. His expression grows more thoughtful by the second. The rest of us wait in silence, sensing that something significant is brewing. Here it is, Felix says, turning his screen toward the table. DSZ has a comprehensive cybersecurity contract with Eurotech Solutions. We've been protecting their corporate data systems for the last 18 months. The color drains from Claire's face so quickly I'm afraid she might faint. Her mouth opens and closes several times, but no sound comes out. The contract is worth $2.3 million a year, Felix continues. His tone remains casual despite the bombshell he just dropped. We provide security for their customer databases, employee records, financial systems, and proprietary research data. Toby grabs Claire's arm. His own face goes pale as he realizes the implications. Claire, honey, maybe we should. This is one of our larger clients, Felix says, scrolling through what looks like a detailed contract summary. I work directly with their CTO, Robert Henderson, and their Vice President of Operations, Linda Chen. Claire finally manages to speak. Her voice is barely a whisper. You know my bosses? I just had dinner with Robert and Linda last week, Felix replies casually. We were talking about expanding our services to their new international offices. Lovely people, very professional. The irony of the situation is breathtaking. Claire has been sitting here bragging about her corporate success and superior career achievements, completely unaware that her sister's fiancé literally holds a contract that could make or break her company's digital security. In fact, Felix continues, pulling up his calendar. I'm attending Eurotech Solutions' annual corporate gala next month. DSZ is one of their premier vendor sponsors. My mother lets out a small choking sound. The corporate gala is the event Claire's been talking about for months. The opportunity to network with executives, the chance to showcase her department's successes, the night that could determine her next promotion. I'll probably be sitting at the executive table, Felix adds thoughtfully, as one of their most important technology partners. My father seems to be doing quick mental math to grasp the full extent of Felix's business influence. If DSC is providing cybersecurity for a Fortune 500 company, then Felix isn't just successful, he's moving in the highest circles of the business world. Claire? Toby whispers urgently. Maybe you should apologize. This could affect your career. I keep personal and business relationships completely separate, Felix says quickly. He's clearly read the panic on Claire's face. My professional dealings with Eurotech Solutions have nothing to do with family matters. The reassurance should make Claire feel better, but instead, she looks even more desperate. She realizes she's spent the evening insulting and dismissing someone who could potentially influence her professional future, even if he promises not to. That being said, Felix continues, his tone becoming more serious. The damage to our family relationships is another matter entirely. I watch my family take in this information, their expressions shifting from panic to calculation to regret. My father, in particular, looks like he's trying to salvage a situation that has completely spiraled out of his control. The tech sector is smaller than people think, Felix explains. His voice takes on a teaching tone. Executives move between companies all the time. Industry conferences bring everyone together. Word travels fast, both regarding professional competence and personal character. The implicit threat is subtle but unmistakable. In a world where reputation and relationships matter, burning bridges with the wrong person can have lasting consequences. Felix, my father says cautiously, I hope you know that our family issues tonight in no way reflect any disrespect toward your professional achievements. Actually, they do, Felix replies calmly. You made assumptions about my character and my abilities based on limited information. In business, that kind of prejudice can be catastrophic. Claire looks like she's about to be sick. Her perfect career, the cornerstone of her identity and the pride of the family, is suddenly vulnerable in a way she never expected. I work with dozens of companies across various industries, Felix continues. His tone remains educational rather than threatening. Healthcare systems, financial institutions, retail chains, manufacturing firms. The business world is connected in ways most people don't realize. My mother reaches across the table to take Claire's hand. Both look shell-shocked as they consider the potential consequences of tonight's events. For example, Felix says, scrolling through his phone again, DSZ also provides services for Richter Financial Services. Toby's face turns white. That's my uncle's firm. Small world, Felix says with a slight smile. We implemented their new security protocols last quarter. Your uncle, Richard, speaks very highly of our work. The web of connections becomes clear, and my family is caught in the center. They've insulted and dismissed someone who has professional ties across their entire social and business circles. I'm curious, Felix says, looking directly at Toby. Does your uncle know about tonight? About how your family measures financial responsibility and professional success? Of course not, Toby stammers. This is a private family matter. Private family matters have a tendency to become public knowledge, Felix remarks. Especially in small communities where everyone knows everyone. It hits me that Felix isn't so much threatening my family as he is educating them on the potential consequences of their behavior. In their small social world, reputation is everything. And they've just revealed some very unflattering aspects of their character to someone with significant influence. Claire finally finds her voice, though it's shaky and uncertain. Felix, I hope you understand that I was only supporting my parents' decision. I didn't mean any personal disrespect. The road to professional ruin is paved with good intentions, Felix replies softly. Character matters, Claire. Integrity matters. How you treat people when you think they can't help you reveals who you truly are. The lesson is clear and devastating. My family treated Felix poorly because they thought he was unsuccessful and insignificant. Now they're realizing their judgment was not only wrong, but potentially damaging to their own interests. My father clears his throat nervously. Felix, I hope we can put this evening behind us and move forward as a family. That depends entirely on what happens next, Felix says. He turns his attention back to me. That's Lena's decision. Once again, the power in the room has shifted toward me. My family's future relationship with Felix, and potentially their standing in their small social circle, depends on how I respond to their treatment. But more than that, they're learning that actions have consequences and assumptions can be dangerous. The casual cruelty they showed me tonight could have lasting effects they never expected. The evening has become a masterclass in the importance of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their perceived status or success. My family is getting a lesson they'll never forget. 2 weeks later, my phone rings at 6:30 the morning. I'm barely awake when I hear Claire's voice on the other end, and she's crying so hard I can barely understand what she's saying. Lena, please, I need help. She sobs into the phone. Everything is falling apart. I sit bolt upright in bed, wide awake. Despite everything that happened at the family dinner, my sister's genuine distress triggers my protective instincts. What's wrong? What happened? The venue, she gasps between tears. The Lakeside Country Club called yesterday. They're doubling their prices. They said there were unforeseen maintenance costs that require extra fees. I glance at Felix, who is stirring beside me. We're in his downtown loft, which, I've learned, is actually a penthouse worth more than most houses. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the San Francisco skyline stretches out in the early morning light. Doubling? I ask, trying to process what Claire is telling me. That's illegal. You have a contract. The contract has a clause about facility upgrades, Claire explains, her voice breaking. They're renovating the ballroom and upgrading the kitchen, and they're passing the costs on to existing bookings. Despite everything, I feel a pang of sympathy. The Lakeside Country Club has been Claire's dream venue since high school. She always talked about having her wedding reception in their elegant ballroom overlooking the golf course. How much are they charging now? I ask softly. $27,000, Claire whispers. The original quote was $12,000. Even with Mom and Dad's money, I can't cover the difference. Felix sits up next to me, his hair messy from sleep. He silently mouths. Is everything okay? I nod, though I'm not sure if that's true. What about Toby's family? I ask. Didn't they promise to help? Claire's sobbing intensifies. They backed out. His mother said she couldn't support a wedding funded with stolen money. She somehow heard about what happened at dinner. The judgment hurts, even though it isn't directed at me. Toby's mother apparently decided that taking my wedding budget was morally questionable and withdrew her support as a result. Claire, I'm so sorry, I say. And I mean it. Whatever my sister's faults are, watching her dreams crumble is painful. It gets worse, Claire continues, her voice hollow with despair. My maid of honor quit. Jessica said she couldn't stand up for someone who steals her sister's wedding money. 3 of my bridesmaids dropped out too. I close my eyes, imagining the social fallout Claire must be experiencing. News travels fast in our hometown, and apparently, the story of our family dinner has spread beyond our immediate circle. The bridal shop is demanding full payment up front now, Claire continues. They said my credit has been flagged for some reason and they don't trust me to make the payments. Felix gets up and starts making coffee quietly, giving me privacy but staying close enough to offer support. What about Toby? I ask. Isn't he helping with all this? Claire's laugh is bitter and completely humorless. Toby is having second thoughts about everything. He said we should maybe postpone the wedding until our finances are more stable. The irony is devastating. Claire's fiancé, who just 2 weeks ago was so smug about their superior relationship, is now questioning their entire future because of financial stress. The photographer canceled yesterday, Claire says. She said she couldn't accommodate us anymore, but I think she just doesn't want to be associated with the drama. I lean back against the headboard, trying to process the complete collapse of Claire's wedding plans. Everything that seemed so secure and well-planned has fallen apart in a matter of days. My boss called me in for a meeting, Claire adds quietly. Someone in HR heard rumors about family issues affecting my professional judgment. They wanted to make sure there weren't any ethical concerns. My stomach sinks. Felix's prediction about reputation and professional consequences is coming true faster than any of us expected. What did you tell them? I ask. I said it was a private family matter, Claire answers, but they seemed worried about my stress levels affecting my work. I think they're watching me now. The cascade of consequences continues. Claire's personal drama is bleeding into her professional life, adding financial stress to an already overwhelming situation. The caterer wants to meet this week to discuss payment issues, Claire continues. I think they're going to cancel too. I look across the room at Felix, who is preparing breakfast with the casual efficiency of someone whose life is organized and under control. The contrast between his stability and my family's chaos is stark. Mom and Dad tried to help, Claire says. They looked into getting a home equity loan, but the bank said their debt-to-income ratio was too high. They can't get any more financing. The revelation that my parents are struggling financially adds another layer to this disaster. Their decision to give away my wedding budget wasn't just favoritism. It was possibly their last available resource. Claire, I say gently, maybe you should consider scaling back the wedding. Do something smaller and more intimate. I can't, she sobs. I've already sent out invitations. I've told everyone at work about the venue and all the details. If I change everything now, it'll look like I can't afford what I promised. Pride. Even in a crisis, Claire's main concern is how she appears to others, rather than finding practical solutions. Toby's family is talking about eloping, Claire continues. His mom suggested we should just go to Las Vegas and have a simple ceremony, but that's not what I wanted. That's not what I planned. I think about the irony that Claire might end up with exactly the kind of simple wedding she criticized me for planning, while I'm preparing for a lavish honeymoon in Napa Valley. The worst part, Claire whispers, is that everyone keeps asking me about Felix's company. People found out he owns DSZ, and now they're all asking why we aren't having a fancy wedding too. The comparison must be agony for Claire. She's been the successful sister her whole life, the one with the better everything. Now, she's facing the possibility of a modest wedding while I'm planning something out of a fairy tale. I don't know what to do, Lena, Claire admits. I've made such a mess. For the first time in our adult lives, my sister is asking me for help instead of giving me unsolicited advice. The reversal of our usual dynamic is profound and heartbreaking. Felix comes to the bed with a cup of coffee for me. His expression is worried. He clearly senses the emotional weight of the conversation. Claire, I say carefully, what exactly do you want me to do? The silence that follows is filled with unspoken possibilities. I know what she wants. She wants access to Felix's resources, his connections, and his ability to solve problems with money and influence. I was hoping, Claire says quietly, that maybe Felix would consider helping out as a family member. The request hangs in the air like a challenge. After everything that's happened, after all the insults and assumptions, my sister is asking the man she dismissed to save her wedding. I'll talk to him, I say finally. But Claire, you have to understand, this isn't about money. This is about respect and relationships and how we treat each other. I know, she whispers. I know I messed up. I just don't know how to make it right. The call ends with a promise to call back later, but I can hear the desperation in Claire's voice. Her perfect life is falling apart, and she's running out of options. Felix sits thoughtfully next to me on the bed. Family crisis? He asks gently. I nod and summarize the conversation for him. He listens without judgment. His business mind is likely analyzing the situation from several angles. What do you want to do? He asks when I'm finished. The question puts the power back in my hands. I have the ability to help or not help, to show grace or to enforce consequences. The decision will not only define my relationship with Claire, but also what kind of person I want to be in a crisis. Felix and I get married on a perfect October day in Napa Valley, surrounded by rolling vineyards and unusually warm sunshine. The ceremony takes place in the stone courtyard of the Schloss Schoenfels winery, exactly as Felix had planned, with 50 of our closest friends and family members witnessing our vows. I'm wearing a dress that cost more than Claire's entire original wedding budget, custom made by a seamstress who usually works for Hollywood celebrities. Felix looks stunning in a charcoal gray suit tailored specifically for him in Italy. As the minister declares us husband and wife, a string quartet plays Pachelbel's canon, while white doves are released into the afternoon sky. The reception is everything Felix promised and more. The chef creates culinary magic that our guests talk about for months. The wine flows freely from the winery's private collection, and a jazz trio provides the perfect soundtrack for dancing under string lights as the sun sets behind the mountains. Our wedding photos are breathtaking enough to grace the pages of a luxury lifestyle magazine, which they eventually do when a major publication features our celebration as one of the most beautiful weddings of the year. The article mentions Felix's business success and describes our love story as a modern-day fairy tale of genuine connection, triumphing over superficial judgments. Claire's wedding takes place 2 months later in the community hall attached to her church. The venue is clean and functional, but it lacks the elegance she had originally dreamed of. Her dress is from a department store instead of a boutique, and the flowers are simple arrangements of seasonal blooms rather than elaborate works of art. Only 37 people attend, including immediate family and a handful of friends who stayed loyal despite the social drama. The reception features a standard buffet and a DJ who usually works school parties and corporate events. It's a perfectly respectable celebration, but a far cry from the grand affair Claire had envisioned. My father officiates the ceremony, having gotten ordained online specifically for the occasion. His speech about love and commitment carries sincere emotion, but there's an underlying sadness in his voice as he realizes how much damage his favoritism has caused over the years. 3 months after Claire's wedding, my father calls and asks if he can take me to lunch. We meet at a small cafe downtown, just the two of us. And for the first time in my adult life, he listens more than he speaks. I'm seeing a therapist, he tells me, stirring his coffee absently. Your mother suggested it after everything that happened. She said we needed help understanding why we treated you so differently from Claire. The admission surprises me. My father was never one for emotional introspection or professional counseling. The fact that he's seeking help suggests a genuine desire for change, rather than just managing a crisis. The therapist helped me realize that I was trying to live out my own unfulfilled ambitions through Claire's success, my father continues, his voice filled with regret. I projected my own needs onto her and dismissed your accomplishments because they didn't fit my narrow definition of success. We talk for 2 hours, and my father apologizes not just for the wedding budget incident, but for years of subtle and not-so-subtle favoritism. He acknowledges specific incidents that I've carried in my heart for decades, validating feelings I had started to think were overreactions or misunderstandings. I'm proud of you, Lena, he says as our lunch comes to an end. I'm proud of your creativity, your independence, and your ability to build a life that makes you happy. I should have told you that years ago. The words I've waited my whole life to hear finally come, and they mean more to me than any wedding budget ever could. My mother begins making a conscious effort to treat Claire and me equally, sending out birthday cards with the same enthusiasm and asking about our lives with equal interest. She starts including Felix in family conversations as a valued member, rather than an outsider to be politely tolerated. The changes aren't perfect or immediate, but they are real and consistent. My parents are working on rebuilding our relationship on a foundation of mutual respect, instead of conditional approval based on achievements. Claire and I go out for lunch, 6 months after her wedding, and she looks different somehow. Less polished, less concerned with appearances, more relaxed than I've seen her in years. Marriage is harder than I expected, she admits, picking at her salad. Toby and I are learning to live within our means, instead of trying to impress everyone with what we can afford. She tells me about her modest apartment, her careful budgeting, and her decision to focus on building a solid foundation, instead of trying to maintain an image of success. The financial stress from the wedding disaster forced her to reevaluate her priorities and values. I owe you an apology, Claire says. Not just for the wedding money, but for all the years I spent competing with you instead of supporting you. I was so fixated on being the successful sister that I forgot how to be a good sister. We cry together in the restaurant, letting go of decades of rivalry and resentment. For the first time in our adult lives, we talk about building a relationship based on love and mutual support instead of comparison and competition. Your wedding was absolutely beautiful, Claire adds. I saw the magazine article. You looked radiant, and Felix looked at you like you were the most precious thing in the world. The compliment comes without any bitterness or envy, just sincere joy for my happiness. It's a gift I never expected from my sister. Toby and Claire's marriage survived those initial financial struggles and actually became stronger as they learned to work together toward common goals instead of individual achievements. They discovered that their relationship works better when it's built on partnership instead of status. Felix's business continues to grow and thrive, but he remains the same humble, kind man I fell in love with. Success hasn't changed his character, and he still measures wealth by relationships and experiences rather than material possessions. 2 years later, our family gathers for Claire's birthday dinner, and the atmosphere is completely different from that disastrous Sunday when everything changed. The conversation flows naturally between all of us, with genuine interest in each other's lives and mutual respect for our different choices and paths. My father asks Felix about his business expansion into international markets, and Felix explains the challenges and opportunities with patient enthusiasm. My mother shares news about her volunteer work with a local literacy program, and everyone listens with the same attention. Claire talks about her recent promotion at Eurotech Solutions, where she's now excelling because family drama no longer interferes with her focus. Toby describes their home buying process and their excitement about finding a home they can actually afford, rather than one designed to impress. As my father raises his glass to toast Claire's birthday, he includes sincere praise for all of us. He celebrates Claire's professional growth, acknowledges Toby's solid character, expresses gratitude for Felix's generosity and wisdom, and tells me how proud he is of my creative success and personal happiness. To the family, my father says, his voice thick with emotion and authenticity, to learning from our mistakes and building something better together. We all raise our glasses, and I realize that the crisis over the wedding budget, as painful as it was, ultimately forced our family to face the toxic dynamics that had poisoned our relationships for decades. The money was never really about the money. It was about respect, love, and the courage to demand better treatment. Felix reaches for my hand under the table. His fingers interlock with mine in that gesture of support and love that has carried me through every challenge. We've built a marriage based on mutual respect, honest communication, and the understanding that true partnership means supporting each other's growth and happiness. The life lesson from our story is deep and lasting. True wealth doesn't lie in bank accounts or status symbols, but in authentic relationships built on respect, understanding, and unconditional love. True success means having the courage to stand up for yourself when you're treated poorly, and the wisdom to recognize when people are sincerely trying to change and grow. Money can't buy respect, and achievements mean nothing if they come at the cost of family bonds. But when a crisis forces everyone to re-examine their values and priorities, it's possible to rebuild relationships on stronger, healthier foundations. My family learned that assumptions and prejudices can be dangerous and costly. They discovered that treating people with dignity and respect isn't an optional behavior reserved only for those who seem successful or influential. Character matters more than credentials, and kindness should never depend on perceived status. I learned that my value isn't determined by the opinions or approval of others, even when those people are family members I love deeply. Sometimes, standing up for yourself requires a willingness to accept that relationships might be damaged. But authentic connections are worth the risk of temporary conflict. Most importantly, we all learned that love shouldn't be conditional on meeting arbitrary standards of success or achievement. Family members deserve support and celebration simply because they are loved and valued for who they are, not because they've earned it through accomplishments. The wedding budget that seemed so important that Sunday night ultimately became irrelevant compared to the deeper issues it uncovered. The real treasure wasn't the $1,500 my parents offered Claire. It was the opportunity to rebuild our family on the principles of equality, respect, and genuine love. As I look around the dinner table 2 years later and see my family interacting with genuine warmth and mutual appreciation, I'm grateful for the crisis that forced us all to grow. Sometimes the most painful experiences lead to the most beautiful transformations, and our family is living proof that it's never too late to change destructive patterns and build something better together. It was truly a pleasure having you here and being able to share my story with you. If you enjoyed my story, please show your support by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us there are. Feel free to let me know in the comments which city you're listening from and what time it is. I'm always so curious to see where all you lovely people are finding me from. If you'd like to support me even more, you can also send a small donation. On my channel, I narrate new life stories just for you every single day. And in just a moment, 2 of my most popular stories will appear on the screen, so you can choose what to listen to next.